Hey, cold climate gardeners, we are about halfway through the outdoor growing season here. It's hard to believe that we're already there, but we are in mid to end of July now, and we only have that small window of opportunity to grow outdoors, living in cold climates. For me, I'm in growing zone 3, Saskatchewan, Canada. My last frost date usually hits around mid-May. First frost date can come about mid-September, sometimes sooner. So, right now we are in the prime and everything is looking absolutely amazing in my garden, doing a lot of things. And I came up with about 15 tasks that you should be doing right now in the mid-season of your garden. So I'm going to go through all those with you, give you some examples of what I'm doing, some B-roll of all the things going on in my garden. It's a little bit windy here today. I got some blackbirds that are nesting nearby that are really upset about me being in my garden. So if you hear that chipping in the background, that's just those birds wanting me to get out of their space here. So let's get into 15 tasks that you should be doing right now in your garden. So the first couple things are pretty standard stuff that we're all doing. And first of all, watering is, of course, one of the most important things for your garden. In the middle of July here, the heat's, coming. Things are drying out quickly, especially if you're growing in containers or pots, garden beds like I am. But it is important to not just kind of sprinkle that water on, here and there daily. It's best to do that deep watering and get into a good consistent routine of deep watering so that those roots get that water they need consistently. You're keeping that soil nice and moist. You're avoiding those issues with like blossom end rot in your tomatoes, or having kind of funny deformed cucumbers or squashes because the soil is drying out, and that's not consistent. So I try to do a good watering every other day. I have an irrigation system set up to all my containers. I'll show you some pictures of that. And that makes it really easy to consistently water that soil. So the next thing to help keep that moisture in is mulching. So I have a process where I use my bagging lawnmower to chop up straw. I have access to some straw bales, but even if you're just using grass cuttings or leaves, using a bagging lawnmower to just kind of whip over top of those leaves, that straw, grass, chop it up, let it dry out a bit, keep it in a container. That makes a great mulch around your plants. It helps keep that moisture in, it helps protect the soil, and should reduce that weeding problem as well. And now that things are really growing now, there's all that pruning and tidying up that you need to do. And I think probably the biggest one for me is tomatoes. If you like to grow indeterminate variety tomatoes, you know that they grow and grow and grow, and they will never stop growing until, they die off, they get froze, or, you remove them from your garden. So if you want to try and keep those plants under control to get the most harvest out of your plants, tomatoes should be pruned. Try to get rid of those suckers. I'm mostly focused on kind of keeping the bottom leaves from touching the soil. So any leaves that are hanging down low in on my tomatoes, I make sure I clip those off so nothing is touching the soil. That helps reduce disease and problems with your tomatoes. I always start off with good intentions of keeping that one main stem going, removing all the suckers so that you don't have, a lot of branching off going on your indeterminate tomatoes. But it always gets away on me every year. So as you can see, I have string tied up that I just use kind of to wrap around my tomatoes, just to kind of keep those main stems going, to give them something to climb up, give them stability in the wind. And it seems to work really well. Lots of baby tomatoes are coming on my tomato plants now. I also work on my squashes and zucchinis to try and keep them pruned and tidy. I'm using the vertical growing method for both my zucchini and my spaghetti squash this year. So I've got tomato cages for the zucchinis. I've got some bamboo poles set up for my spaghetti squash. So far, so good. So with the zucchini, I've been pruning from the bottom just removing any dead leaves, any blossoms that have died off, and kind of training it to climb up my tomato cages. So far, so good. I've been able to harvest a couple zucchini. So now I just hope that the bees will keep coming in and doing their job, finding those male flowers and spreading that pollen into the female flowers and keeping those zucchinis and spaghetti squashes going. And there has been a whole pile of harvesting going on in my garden already. I've harvested the peas, the radishes, lettuces. Those are all those cool early crops that come up fast. I've been harvesting some garlic scapes, onions, carrots are coming. I've been harvesting them. So today I harvested my first ever head of cabbage, and I'm so proud of myself and so excited at the size of it, and really happy how it turned out. It was very easy to grow. I started my cabbage from seed, and this was my first harvest today. So I will be doing something good with it this week, enjoying my first ever cabbage. I've been harvesting potatoes as well. So I have started potatoes in different ways. I started some in containers, some in big tubs. And behind me here, I have what I call my potato jungle. So this is actually a grow box that I purchased from Grow Box Garden Beds. It's a U-shaped size. I filled it full of potatoes and they are growing like crazy. They're just starting to bloom. But like I said, I've been able to harvest some already out of containers. I did some Austrian crescents in containers about the 1st of May. They got planted. We harvested them yesterday and enjoyed them. I got some big 30-gallon tubs that I've thrown potatoes in. I put potatoes wherever I can if I got some space. You can never have too many potatoes, I say, and they're easy to store and keep over the winter. So the more you can get out of your garden, the better. Something else that I try to do, especially with, garden beds and, well, even in-ground gardens, if you start harvesting maybe your radishes, the peas are starting to die off, and you're starting to see a little bit of empty space in your garden. It's mid-July and it's still not too late to start a few more things. I have been tossing more radish seeds in wherever I see bare ground, and I've been putting in carrots. I've also got a few beets started here and there. And of course, lettuces are something that you can throw in throughout the season. So if you spot up any bare ground in your garden beds, in your garden space, you might as well just throw in some of those faster growing things and you'll get a late harvest maybe before the frost. As part of my daily stroll through the garden, it's always, good to check for your pests to make sure that none of your plants are being attacked by anything. That was one of my concerns with my cabbage, was that, cabbage moths or some other little flea beetles were going to get into my cabbage before I was able to harvest it. So, have a look under those leaves, check for maybe little eggs that are being planted on, check for holes in your leaves. Maybe there's some little aphids that are gnawing away on your leaves. I like to do the companion planting method, so I have lots of herbs and flowers that help deter pests, help, attract them away from your tomatoes, your cucumbers, and that has been working really well for me. So, do that daily check as part of your daily garden stroll. Fertilizing is also very important. You want to make sure that all those plants are getting fed well and that your soil is got the nutrients in it that they need to grow. I like to use a fish fertilizer that I just dilute in my watering cans as a fertilizer and try to do it every couple weeks. You can also make your own tea with compost. I've done it with worm castings. I've also made a batch of comfrey tea because I have a lot of comfrey growing here. Just let it ferment in water for a couple weeks. It will dissolve. It will get super, super stinky. I strain it off, keep it in a container. So then I do about a 1-to-10 ratio in my watering can, where I do 1 part of the comfrey tea to 9 parts of the water. Make sure that that tea is well diluted. And then I just go around, give my flowers, my vegetables a really good drink about every 2 or 3 weeks. Keep feeding them throughout the season, keep them happy. So trellising is something that I like to do, especially if you're in a small space or if you're growing in containers. Being able to grow things vertically obviously gives you much more space. Tomatoes, cucumbers, your squashes, your peas, those things that could just sprawl out and take a lot of space if you just let them go free. If you trellis them up, get some bamboo poles, tomato cages, cattle fencing. I have all sorts of different uh, trellising things going on in my garden. Always make sure that you have strong support. I have these bamboo poles going for my spaghetti squash that I've been tying them up to. Not quite sure if they're going to be able to hold the weight of the spaghetti squashes once those things really start growing, because they can get very heavy, but I'm going to keep an eye on it and just check it out every few days just to see how it's going. Tomato cages seem to be working well for trellising my zucchinis. I use cattle fencing for tomatoes, for cucumbers to climb up. All of those seem to be working really well. Just make sure you got that support there that they need and the strength to hold them up, and you should be able to get a lot of things growing in a very small space. Another part of your daily stroll through the garden and through your flower beds is to make sure you're deadheading and pulling off any, dead flowers, dead blooms off of your plants. I like to do this obviously with my petunias. That just makes them keep growing and producing. Your marigolds, any other flowers, just walk through, pull off those dead heads, and they should, keep producing. I have my calendula flowers that I'm harvesting daily that every time I pinch them off, they just come back even more. Your peas, your squashes, all those dead flowers. Sometimes you have dead fruit that didn't pollinate on your zucchini or squashes. Sometimes those little fruits don't get pollinated, so they kind of die off. Just go in there and snip them off, and hopefully some more flowering fruit will come. And to help with those squashes and zucchinis, I go in and do some hand pollinating. If you're lucky enough to come out in the morning and those male flowers are really blooming and you see some female fruiting flowers, you can help that along a little bit. Maybe the bees aren't out, or they aren't, able to get to them in time, because there is a real kind of a tight time factor I find with the male flowers and the female flowers on my zucchini and squash. So you can just grab that male flower, take that little stamen that's in the middle and just rub it into your female flowers. You can use a Q-tip or a little paintbrush just to grab some of that pollen and put it into your female flowers. And that should help with pollination and hopefully get more production in your squashes. I don't worry about that too much with my tomatoes. I don't seem to have any issues with them not pollinating and getting lots of tomatoes. With my cucumbers, I have been growing a few varieties that are just have female flowers. Those are called the carcinopathic varieties, so they only produce the female flowers, so you don't have to worry about pollination. This is a variety that I use also in my indoor hydroponics in the winter, because I don't have to worry about pollination. I don't have any bees helping me indoors. And outdoors, it seems to help, with getting more cucumbers. So a few of my female flowering cucumbers are already producing little cucumbers, so that's looking good. So something that I'm doing this year that I've never done before is planning to plant some fall crops. Again, my season is very short, and if you're in growing zones 3 to 5, you have that first frost coming mid-September, end of September. So if you're going to try and grow another round of crops into the fall, you're going to need some kind of a cold frame or a greenhouse to be able to get those plants to reach that maturity before it gets too cold, before we have that loss of sunlight. We need to have at least 10 hours of sunlight a day for plants to keep growing. So once we hit that November, December, January, nothing is going to grow no matter what you are doing with it. And especially where we have the cold here, trying to keep it from freezing and then to make sure it's getting enough sunlight. is a bit of a trick. So I am hoping that I'm going to be able to share more of this on my channel as I learn how to do cold frame gardening, year-round gardening, winter gardening, whatever you want to call it, in a cold climate. So to start off, I'm going to be starting some of those plants that will do well in this method, such as kales, lettuces, some of the root crops like carrots, beets, that you can grow, start it in some containers and put it into a cold frame, and then keep it insulated so that you can keep harvesting from it, once it gets cold and once those days get shorter. So stay tuned. I will hopefully be sharing more of that on my channel. So probably one of the least favorite tasks in the garden is weeding, but it's something that's important to do. I will say that being a container gardener now with my grow boxes and my containers and my tubs, weeding is super easy. It's easier on my back because I'm not down on my hands and knees. But if you are growing in the ground, you have to kind of keep those weeds under control so that they aren't going to choke out our vegetables. I like to mulch around everything with straw, grass, and that will definitely help control weeds. Another fun task that I like doing in my garden at this time of year is harvesting my herbs, my flowers, my weeds, whatever you like to dry to use maybe for spices. Maybe you like to make skincare products like I do. So I'm always picking those herbs so I can dry them and store them for the winter. I use my dehydrator to do that. I also have a mesh dryer that I got off of Amazon. I'll pop up a picture here so you can see it. This thing is great. It is easy to just hang up in your garage, your garden shed, somewhere where there's lots of airflow. You can continually pick your herbs and put them in there. They are protected from bugs and everything, so that you don't have to worry about that. Things like my chamomile, my mint that I like to pick and store for tea over the winter. I'm doing a lot of that right now. And if you like to make oil infusions for making salves or soaps or any kind of skincare products, now is the time to go looking for those special weeds that are great for skin. Pick them, let them dry out. I do calendula, chamomile, plantain, dandelions, all sorts of different flowers and weeds that are great for skincare products. So that's a fun daily task that you can be doing in your garden right now. I think I'm at number 14 now. I haven't been keeping track, but I'm pretty sure I had 15 things here. So number 14 is something that I try to make myself do. I start off with good intentions at the beginning of the year, like in January when you're starting to plan. I get out a calendar, try to find, a pretty calendar, and I start, planning out my seed starting, figuring out when my last frost date is going to be, when I need to start things, when I'm going to be direct sowing. And it kind of takes me through all the months of everything up until now, and then I kind of fall off the wagon as for keeping track. But I'm really trying to do that this year by making notes right now. What is growing well for you? What did you do wrong? Just make notes. Just use a calendar, something that you're going to be able to find next year when you go to start your gardening season again for your outdoor season. Things that I wish I would have planted, but I forgot about, make a note about that. And then the best way to find that again next year, because again, I'll write things down on a piece of paper or in a book that next year I can't find. Put that right into your seed box, like if you have a box full of seeds or something relating to your gardening that you're going to be going into next season in January, February. I put those calendars right into that box with my seeds so that when I pull everything out and I'm starting to plan again, I look at those notes and go, oh yeah, I really wanted to plant bee balm next year. I'm going to make sure I get some seeds, start them myself, do whatever you need to do. I really want to try things like grapes. I want to try growing more berries. So these things are things that I'm making notes of now. When should I plant them? Should I start them this fall or should I wait till next spring? Just kind of Give yourself a plan. Always be looking down the road to what you want to do or what you want to do differently, and write it down, because, just keeping it up here doesn't always work well for me. Okay, I think I've gotten through everything. Number 15 is just a reminder that we have this amazing community on the Skool app called Gardeners Growing Together. I talk about it in all my videos. I really hope that you will check it out. As I said, it's on the Skool platform, which sometimes is a new platform for people that you haven't been on, but this platform is loaded with communities of every shape and size. Anything that you think you might enjoy or want to be a part of, there might be a community on this app. So my gardening community is on there. I'll leave the link to how you can join that community in the description box. Like I said, if you haven't been on the Skool platform before, it's a lot like joining Facebook for the first time or Instagram. Skool will ask you to give your name and your email to set up an account on the Skool platform. Once you've done that, you are in. You can explore all the different communities inside this platform. There's lots of free communities in there. Our community is free to join, so I hope you will check it out. Gardeners Growing Together. So the outdoor growing season is something that a lot of us take part in as cold climate gardeners, but I just wanted to also let you know that you can keep growing food all year round. Once it gets cold, I move indoors. I do a lot of easy indoor hydroponic growing that I would love to share with you. So make sure you keep following me to learn about how to do that. Plus, I am in the process of doing some cold frame gardening, which I hopefully will have some success with, that I can share with you as well. So thank you for joining me here in Zone 3, Saskatchewan, Canada. I hope that you will hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next video.